Your smartphone through the genius of Einstein. Chapter 6, E equals mc squared. Our premise is that we have a new civilization based on these smartphones. If Einstein were exploring nature today, he would start with what he finds inside your smartphone. In this chapter about E equals mc squared, we're going to talk about Einstein's guilt feelings, his plan to save the world, and his fantasy life. When he first awakens inside your smartphone, he's somewhat bewildered, and his first thought is, where are some of my favorite ideas? The most favorite of which being E equals mc squared. As he got older, he felt guilty about contributing to the building of the atomic bomb. He hated this Time magazine cover, and as he got older, he worked hard for world peace because he considered atomic warfare to be the biggest threat to the survival of the human race. When he got inside your smartphone, he discovers something that astonishes him, which is that atomic warfare is no longer the biggest threat to the human race. It is global warming and climate change. Einstein says, "Oh, that's such good news." I say, "Good news? It's terrible. I'm depressed about it." The good news is that in 8 decades there has not been any nuclear war, and I don't need to feel guilty about the atomic bomb anymore. We can use my equation to save the planet with nuclear power. I say, nuclear power is not much use because of all the nuclear waste products. Einstein says, you are thinking of nuclear fission. I'm thinking of nuclear fusion, in which we take water, which is plentiful, and burn it, fusing 2 hydrogen nuclei into a helium nucleus and releasing a huge amount of energy with no toxic waste products. There are different ways to make nuclear fusion so as to produce clean energy. One way is to turn it over to a 12-year-old.
My name is Jackson Oswald, and my Guinness World Records title is the youngest person to build a nuclear fusion reactor. I have been able to use electricity to accelerate 2 atoms of deuterium together so that they fuse into an atom of helium-3, and also release a neutron which can be used to heat up water and turn a steam engine, which in turn produces electricity. The temperature in my fuser varies, but it's approximately 100 million degrees. There are definitely some parts of my project where my parents were definitely questioning whether or not they should keep giving me funding to do this.
There were a few moments during the project that I had some reservations. I would definitely be Googling things before he turned on various stages.
You know, I didn't know enough, just like his mom. We didn't know enough to have reservations, to be honest.
He did a great job of explaining it to us and all the precautions and why it was safe, and so I ultimately ended up trusting him.
Once that air has been removed, I add back a tiny bit of gas in the form of deuterium. Deuterium is an isotope of hydrogen. An isotope means a type, so it's just a different variation of hydrogen. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the electricity to create a plasma. So as you can see, a plasma that looks like a glowing ball of light has been created inside the chamber.
Einstein was quite amused with Jackson's claim to have gotten his equipment up to 100 million degrees.
The temperature in my fuser varies, but it's approximately 100 million degrees.
At that temperature, the house would explode and burn down, and it's not real practical. I imagine that his mother was humoring him and going along with his proposal. But that is the problem, isn't it? What do you do with a gas that's 100 million degrees? Well, you can't contain it in any normal container. It would simply vaporize the container. You've got to somehow contain it in a magnet. A plasma is a gas that's so hot that the atoms have broken apart and the plasma has powerful electrical and magnetic properties, and a magnet is used to squeeze it into a donut shape within which nuclear reactions can take place, releasing energy. Einstein was fascinated with what you just saw. He says that he regrets that he's trapped inside your smartphone. He'd like to get out and talk to these scientists, but that's just the way it is. Part 3, Einstein's fantasy life. Einstein was a highly imaginative guy. He preferred to live in his fantasy life rather than in what other people regarded as reality. He had at age 16 the fantasy of riding on a light beam, looking at another light beam, and from that came all of his special theory of relativity, and from that came the idea that when an object goes faster and faster, approaching the speed of light, it gets heavier and heavier, and he tried to work out how much energy does it take to push something to the speed, almost the speed of light, and then how much heavier does it get, and that's where his famous equation came from, E equals mc squared. That equation came from his rich fantasy life. That's the end of our discussion of E equals mc squared. If you like it, please hit the like button and subscribe. In 3 weeks, we will release the next video, the musical origins of relativity and smartphones.